What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub, and on this week's show, we go over what's going on with the Spring League. We got new team names and logos and some details on what's going on with the Spring League to keep you up to date. Plus, there's going to be XFL, CFL players, and AAF guys in that league as well. We'll give you some of the details of what's going on with that. Plus, we will get to your social media stuff, see what you think about some of the Spring League things. Plus, we also have some XFL news dabbled in there as well, if we'd like to say that. So if you want to be part of the show, you get in touch with the show. You email podcast@xflnewshub.com with your MP3s or videos, or call 888-430-7692 extensions 3. Remember to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. We really appreciate that. Next week's question of the week is very simple. Rank from best to worst, worst to best, however you want. What's the worst to best of the Spring League logos? I will give my thoughts next week because we'll have more details on schedules and players, but that will be coming to you next week. So I'm really curious to hear what you think about the Spring League logos. So that's for question for next week. So without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was the XFL. The Spring League's fall season is right around the corner, and some former XFL players, along with many CFL and college opt-outs, will be participating. The 6-team, 12-game season will be played entirely in San Antonio, Texas, at the Alamo Dome, with friends and family allowed, and maybe tickets being sold to the general public. We're not sure about that first. The sole purpose of the Spring League's fall season is to give these players another opportunity to build up on their game film and impress professional football teams in the NFL, CFL, and maybe even the XFL. Something that will definitely help is the Spring League has confirmed that they'll be sending both practice and game film to every NFL and CFL team's front office, as well as I'm sure the player agents would do the same thing as well. So who's participating in the Spring League? It's confirmed that, quote, any player who is currently eligible for the 2021 NFL Draft or a previous year's NFL Draft is eligible to sign with a team in the Spring League, close quote. Players that have so far been reported include CFL QB and passing touchdown leader McLeod Bethel Thompson, as well as maybe former XFL guy Jeremiah Spicer, which we've followed his career. According to Mike Mitchell, a few former XFL coaches will also be in the mix, including Jerry Glanville, Ted Cottrell, and Darius Bell. They'll be on the sideline. So some dates to keep in mind. Player selection took place Saturday and Sunday, October 11th, 10th, and 11th. Teams will be made up of 38-man roster, with all the players being notified of their assignments by the end of the weekend. The majority of the players will report to practice at noon on October 19th, with QBs and wide receivers reporting on Sunday the 18th. Full team practices will begin Tuesday, October 20th, with all position and team meetings held on Zoom. And then their regular season games will span 4 weeks, played the following dates: October 27th, November 4th, November 10th, 11th, 17th, and 18th. Not sure if they're going to have a league championship game. That's to be determined. That would be played on the 24th. How do you watch these games and the championship games? Well, they'll air on Fox Sports 1. We're still not sure the specific times and days when it will be aired, but you can just stay with XFL News Hub when we find out all that information. But one thing we do know is what the team logos are going to be, something we remember we had fun with in the XFL world. So they're set to start practicing on the 20th, and now we're starting to we have team names and logos, and we'll get some players coming here real soon. So some of the team names are as follows. Now, first, you need to realize that the Generals and the Hughes will be returning for the TSL in 2020. The Hughes is the same logo, but they have a new name. I'll point that out in a second. So first we have the Conquerors. Kind of cool. The Blues. The only thing on the mind of a shark is to eat. Of the Conquerors, I came, I saw, I conquered. Little sayings there. The Jousters, okay, a knight in shining armor and a man who has never had his mettle truly tested. The Aviators, so the Aviators were the Hughes, now the Aviators. This is my top pick. This is my team. I'm an Aviators guy all the way. We also have the Alphas, which is kind of cool too. The Wolf on the Hill is never as hungry as a wolf climbing the hill, and the Generals, which was used the last time. So stay with XFL News Hub. We'll have a full breakdown of all the rosters when they're available, as well as game schedule for the Spring League 2020 fall season. If you're wondering what Oliver Luck has been up to, we have an update on him. So as momentum shifts towards allowing NCAA players to profit off of their labor in the form of name, image, likeness, compensation, a new firm has formed to help advise schools on traversing this new landscape. Altus Sports Partners was started by Casey Schwab, the NFLPA's former VP of Business Affairs. Schwab's experience vouching for players' rights will prove invaluable in helping the schools chart their course through as things continue to progress. He's not alone. The partners include experts ranging from business to law and media matters, with Oliver Luck and Urban Meyer headlining the group. Oliver Luck, of course, has extensive experience that goes beyond his days as XFL commissioner. He started his days as an exec and NFL Europe's president, but the most key stop on his resume was his time as the NCAA's executive vice president of regulatory affairs. So what a perfect guy to help navigate this stuff is Oliver Luck, helping them. Urban Meyer, of course, is a surefire college football Hall of Famer with experiences with the teams and all that stuff. So per Sports Business Daily, Altus Sports Partners is already contracted with LSU in Texas. And we know how big those schools are. So this appears to be a very lucrative market, and interesting enough, XFL backer Redbird Capital has its own play in the NIL scene, name, image, likeness. Jerry Cardinal recently seeded one team with $125 million as they partnered with the NFL and Major League Baseball Players Association. While their outright goal it was not initially to deal with college player licensing, it is a market that Cardinal has stated interest in. One team and Altus Sports Partner both appear to be ahead of the curve on that landmark California legislation, the NIL legislation, but that does not go in effect until 2023. So these guys are prepping all of this thing, and when these college players potentially get paid something. Now, one team is uniquely positioned here with the critical ties of the NFL PA and Major League Baseball PA and CPA, but bringing Oliver Luck on board was a positive move for Altus as they move forward working with those schools as well. So here at XFL News Hub, clearly we wish nothing but the first XFL commissioner, Oliver Luck. We wish him good on his future endeavors, and we've said multiple times that he was not coming back. Here's another example why he is not coming back. He'll be working in the college football space. It'll be interesting to see how these kind of things translate with XFL and dealing with college players. And, now that the college players can actually make a little bit money in school. But you got to remember, these are all the big colleges. These other middle colleges, these players aren't going to make much at all. And even if they do get something, they're not going to make thousands of dollars on having their football name in a video game. Maybe it will get a couple $100. So, but it'll be interesting to see how this changes the course of not only the XFL and dealing with college players and players coming out of college, but also how the NCAA deals with these new rules as well. With the bankruptcy of the XFL earlier this year, due to everything we know, many talented football players were left without a job or given no voice in how they were treated during the league's collapse. This both goes for the AAF and XFL. Every player, injured or healthy, was left to figure out things on their own, and very quickly many football families were tasked with relocating, file for unemployment benefits, obtaining health insurance, and so much more. In an effort to help avoid any similar situations in the future, former XFL Seattle Dragons running back Kenneth Farrow, the second, along with many other AAF, CFL, and XFL alumni, have been working hard to create the United Football Players Association, the UFPA. The goal of the newly established 501c4 nonprofit is to push for best interest of players outside of the NFL and NFLPA in order to avoid more negative situations similar to those that followed the bankruptcies of the XFL and AAF. Along with creating a safety net, the UFPA is looking to give players an organized environment to voice any concerns about the way any of the alternative football leagues are run. The UFPA seeks to negotiate specific workplace benefits similar to the NFLPA. The benefits desired include higher pay, better living arrangements, improved practice and facility conditions, greater training and weightlifting opportunities, setting up the framework for players' name, image, and likeness to be used, and just more overall transparency in how alternative leagues such as the XFL are financed and operated. One major difference between the UFPA and the NFLPA is the UFPA is not actually a players' union and is not authorized by the National Labor Relations Board to do any collective bargaining agreements, unlike the NFL. Those in alternative football leagues cannot use the UFPA to go on strike or make labor demands, any of that kind of stuff. As for a 501c nonprofit entity under the Internal Revenue Code, the UFPA is a social welfare organization, which means it will use advocacy and education to push for what benefits the players will receive. Having an organization such as the UFPA giving players a collective voice in a football league owned by a single entity like the AAF or XFL is a good idea. And absolutely, I think it's a great idea. A league owned by a single entity makes it fairly easy to limit player salaries, restrict free agencies, and kind of do all kind of thing with no kind of consequences. A UFPA as an association will seek to meet with the league officials and bring attention to concerns players have, giving them some kind of voice that they lacked in the past. Although we're pretty far out from the XFL and CFL returning, Don Pova, a key advisor to the UFPA, believes that these delays caused by the issues will actually work in their benefit. The XFL not returning until 2022 gives them more time to communicate with the new owners of the league and advocate for policies that they'd like to see implemented upon the league's return. The new ownership has been quite vocal about how the new XFL will be a league that supports the players as well as the fans. With the mentality, I would be shocked to see if Danny, The Rock, and Redbird Capital don't try to make these union guys happy and talk with them. I don't think why they wouldn't sit down with them and figure out some things that were going on in the past that they want to improve. I think this is all a good thing. Maybe in the long run, this whole situation, because we can't say the word on places like YouTube, otherwise they flag your videos, that this situation maybe in the long run, as Jeffrey Pollack has said that the XFL is a 100-year brand, that this all might really help the league really thrive going forward for the next 100 years. We just have to wait a year, and then we'll be back in business for the long haul. We reported on August 21st of the sale of the XFL that was finalized by Alpha Equico, the group made up of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Danny Garcia, Jerry Cardinal, and Redbird Capital. They were the only bidders on August 3rd, and they won the sale. On September 14th, everything officially became theirs, including the property, contracts, leases, and employees that were still there, among other items, trademarks, that kind of thing, as well as the name of the company that was filed for bankruptcy, Alpha Entertainment. It takes up for a month for the trademarks to officially change hands if they're signed over, like what happened in a bankruptcy or a sale. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has since updated these marks to reflect the new owners and subsidiary of Alpha Equico named Alpha Opco. Other trademarks associated with the XFL include For the H, Houston, For the Love of Football, we all know that one. That was all transferred to the new ownership. We've seen a lot of these changes over the few weeks. The website has been updated. The Twitter handle has changed, if you didn't notice that, to reflect the new season. And now the trademarks moved over. So the bankruptcy case is still ongoing, but it's all about wrapping everything up. Not a lot is left for the new owners to take possession of. But you can definitely see that XFL News Hub will be all over these details as we get closer to the 2022 XFL season. What's up, XFL Army? If you're a fan of the XFL News Hub and you have a telephone, which I know all of you do because you're sitting there playing on your phones all the time, then why not download the XFL News Hub app? That's right, it's on iTunes. It's on Android. We have an Android version and an iPhone version of the XFL News Hub app. So what do you get? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier source of XFL news in the universe. Plus, you get push notifications when we have breaking news. You will be the first to know. You can leave a comment on some of the news right from your phone. Plus, you get this podcast on your phone as well. Remember, you can leave us reviews on the Google
Play Store or iTunes. It links to our other social media accounts, and so much more. Be in the know. I know you're on your phones. People are on their phones all the time. They never get off their phones. So why not just download the XFL News Hub app on your Android or iPhone today? All you need to do is go to the Google Play Store or iTunes and just type in XFL News Hub. That's XFL News Hub. Download our app on your phone today.
All right, let's get to you some of your social media stuff on all XFL trademarks are now officially with Alpha Apco. Roman says, Apco, I thought it said Aquico. Well, that's right. That's what the deal was. It's like Alpha Aquico then owns Alpha Apco. I don't know what it is. But yeah, there's another name now too. But yes, you are right. There is Alpha Aquico. I think Alpha Aquico owns Alpha Opco. I think that's how it works. And then Alpha Opco owns the naming, trademarks, and all that stuff is under that name. So who knows what this Alpha Aquico is on the top level, and then Alpha Opco is this little almost Alpha Entertainment section. So who knows what else is in the works for that. But yeah, we thought the same thing too. On The Rock being the new owner, Zahn says, my first like actor Sir Hercules Rock. Apparently liked The Rock back then. On the Spring League's fall season logos and all that stuff, Tim says, and people had an unmitigated gall to make fun of the XFL logos. Well, that's a good point too. I mean, these logos are fine too. And I like the XFL ones too. But yeah, those people were just hating to hate. They were just hating to hate, as always. No shocker there. On to the YouTubes. Moses says third time's a charm for the XFL. Dan Cuso on YT says The Rock Speaks is fake, not real, because it failed too much. The XFL will not return ever again in 2022. Right. Well, no, it will return, but okay. Jack Stevens, our man Jack, says, nice interview with Mike Mitchell last week. As Heel, our friend. Nice, I'm hyped. It's nice to see you actually use it. Talking about his image stuff that he made up. Help us make good videos. We appreciate him. Leon says, great interview. Yeah, Mike Mitchell is always the best for interviews. Brian, bring XFL to San Diego, California. We might want to see that. M3 from Muirland. What about tryouts? Talk to us in June of 2022, and maybe we'll have some information then. Archive Adam says, my heart goes out to those who had high hopes for XFL 2.0 based on what I think I know. It was solid gold compared to AAF from 2019, but then you know what came, which caused 2.0 to end unjustly. Now, if anyone else says good riddance to XFL 2.0, I don't take kindly to whoever says that, okay? Also, do you have to call it 3.0 instead of 2.0? Because if you do, you know what? I'm sorry, but 2.0 deserved better. And if you disagree with me, I don't take kindly to you. Okay? I mean, it basically is the 3.0. I mean, we don't have Oliver Luck at the helm anymore. Vince McMahon is not involved. So this is 3.0. I hate to break it to you. It is 3.0. Shark Attack, which makes me afraid. All teams, talking about relocation, says all teams stay where they are. It wasn't a full season, and you fools are already condemning teams. Calm down. Here are my 6 cities and team names XFL needs to put on. Okay. Phoenix Firebirds. San Francisco Sea Lions. That's an interesting one. San Antonio Regulators. All right. Birmingham Rhinos or Rampage. Interesting. Chicago Enforcers. Got to bring that back. Columbus Nightwings. That's kind of cool. Here's another 6. He's got Denver Rushers or Wranglers, Omaha Mammoths, OKC Twisters, I don't know about that, Boston Bulldogs, Detroit Cobras, and Atlanta Apex. Those are some interesting names from Shark Attack. Maybe in XFL 10 years from now, we'll expand to all those things. We're just trying to get through one season, my friends. Guillermo says Vipers should move to Alabama, Wildcats should move to Mississippi, Guardians should move to ATL. No, ATL is one of the worst sports markets in the country. No, stay away from Atlanta. Sorry, Atlanta, but you do. Drop the East-West conference thing and just call it like the Eagle and Continental divisions or something. That's interesting. Got to put teams where people will support and come to games. ATL is not one of them. I'm sure Alabama and Mississippi would too. I just really don't see them changing locations in this first iteration. It would just be too complicated. Sunny D Time says, I would not mind watching as long as they come focus on the sport and talking about TSL. There can be nothing going on there. And Jack, of course, likes what we do. We appreciate Jack Stevens, the man, Jack Stevens, as well, working on some XFL News Hub merch for our friends over there. On the Twitter, our Twitter just blew up with all this Spring League talk. John Ferguson says, awesome to see the Spring League announcing rosters with former XFL and AAF guys. Make sure you follow Miller Time, our man Anthony Miller, and more XFL News Team. Yes, we'll be covering TSL in detail, and we will have stuff about rosters and all this other kind of stuff. Let's see. Talking about some of the names, Richard O. For Real says, hell yeah, Alphas is his team name. All I need to know is who is the quarterback. We're waiting for all that kind of news. Let's see. Jousters XFL Markcast podcast says Jousters over Aviators every day. My team. I'll have to give you my team name next week. That's our question for next week. Is rating the not the AAF, the team names for the Spring League. We'll have some fun with that. I'm curious what you guys think. I know what I think. I'm not going to say who I think just yet. We'll save that for next week. We'll hear you guys. John says, do you know if the TSL Vegas September 7th to 28th is still active? No, that is off. Do you know if the 2016 to 2019 SJSU QB Josh Love is on the TSL Vegas or San Antonio rosters? No idea. We'll have more of that information. Just stay with XFL News Hub. When rosters come out, we're about to compile our lists. There's XFL and AAF guys in there. I think you'll like some of the rosters in there. Plus, we're working on schedule and so much more with the Spring League. So stay tuned to XFL News Hub for all your Spring League news. It should be fun. All right, thanks for checking in. Again, remember, next week's question of the week, rank the Spring League, TSL, as we'll refer to it now, TSL logos from worst to best. We're really curious to get your thoughts and feedback on what you think. You'll hear mine next week. We'll have roster breakdowns, more schedule details, and so much more. So if you want to be part of the show, you just email podcast@XFL News Hub or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Follow us everywhere, social, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, especially YouTube, XFL News Hub. Plus, you got our apps. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. We really appreciate that kind of stuff. And you can listen to us everywhere. Now, remember, relax. We're covering the Spring League because we like the alt football stuff, and you fans were very interested when we publish some Spring League stuff. So that's why we want to kind of cover it. It's kind of like our way of covering things until things start to really kick in June when the XFL makes a return. And these guys, some of these guys that we talk about now could potentially play not only in the NFL, in the CFL, but maybe they could make their way to an XFL tryout next summer when all that stuff starts to kick in again. And we've heard from Mike Mitchell that June 2022 to June 2021 is going to be the time frame when things start to kick in again. So this will be kind of our way of checking some guys out before. And it'll just be fun. Hey, we're just waiting here, and at least we have something. Back in the day, we didn't have anything to talk about. So that's why we're doing that. Of course, we're still at 100% XFL, so settle down. All right, for show notes, xflnewshub.com/XFL-podcast. Join us on the Discord where we're talking the fantasy football app that we're working on. So we'd like to get your feedback on that, and you'll probably be a beta tester for that coming up soon. So that's it for this week's show, my friends. Thanks for listening. Mahalo. God bless. Stay safe out there, my friends, and I will see you all later.